Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Gracious,
All right.
I'm happy.
Yay! Well,
You got-
welcome to Blab with
That's right. You
Bacon.
got bacon all behind you there, man.
Yes, I
Holy
do.
moly. It's my first Blab. You're my first.
Well, hey, I always wanted to be your first, man, but don't tell Joy. And Jeff's here. Mr. Herring's in the house. Maybe we can get him to jump on a little bit and
All right.
say hi. So now we get a behind the scenes peek to your studios, and this is mine. I call it it's called CBS, Central
I see
Bacon
that.
Studios.
How cool is that? I have to learn to do that, by the way. That's cool.
Well, this is something, it's something called Minicam that allows you to pull up all these different things. So I can pull up my book. I could talk about my podcast, since we're talking about podcasts this morning. Probably, I'm going to assume, since you're the podcast king, that's what we're going to talk about.
Man, I had a really long, hard weekend. I took 3 days off and did nothing. I am so tired, man. I got to get back to work. In my eyes.
Well, welcome back to the working world,
so
man.
Much beer in Orlando.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, I had a couple of them when I was down there a while ago. So, and usually I'm a wine guy, though. That's my thing.
About that.
So anyway, so why don't you, for the few people that are on here right now, why don't you kind of tell everybody your story from you're a shock jock at 18 to now one of the largest podcasts
something
in the
like
world.
that. Yeah, shock jock at 18. Yeah, that was about it, I guess. Yeah, I started in radio, always been in radio, always been in communication and voiceover and TV and the whole thing. And I was married and had kids and did the whole deal, lived a pretty good life. And then was about 42 or so, I used to be really fat, a lot fatter than I am now, even though I think I'm fat right now. And I started this whole thing called Motivation to Move, because I always felt like the shock jock thing was cool with me, but I never came out of there feeling clean after a show, I always felt like, man, I had this way to impact people, but I didn't like doing it that way. And so I made this decision to kind of get more personal development. And, I think, one of the things that happens, whether it be personal development, whether it be marketing, whatever you want to do, the number one thing that people in the beginning always say is, yeah, but, what do I talk about? I don't have any content. Where do I begin? I was in the same place, which was, 12, 13 years ago now. I had nothing. And so I was looking around trying to find a way to get my messaging out and to stay in the communication world and to help people. And one day, gosh darn it, podcasting popped up. And I think it officially was officially recognized in November of 2011. And I was doing it by January. I jumped in. And I remember walking out in the living room and I said to my wife, I said, hey, I found it. It's called podcasting. And she said, pod what? I said, podcasting. And,
right.
and I said, it's this thing. It's like a radio thing, but it's like on an iPod. And, whoever has that anymore, they still make them, I guess. But yeah. So
Yeah, iPod touches are still around.
Doing that, and I did it for about 9 months. Finding my way, but you know what? To keep the story really, really short, but really what made this work was I always just wanted to help people, and we're putting out this strange podcast, which is kind of like Blab back in the day. It was kind of weird, except it was one way,
Right.
And I worked for about 9 months and said I need to make some money out of this, and I decided to launch a membership site. And the day I launched my membership site, about 9 years ago, my first wife got a terminal diagnosis for cancer. And I made the decision to continue just to do my podcast and to help and do what I could do until she passed away, which is about 3 months later. And that was life-changing for me in so many ways, because it fundamentally transformed how I see the world and how I interact with people. And also fundamentally taught me the power of this kind of communication, because when I was that deep and that transparent and in that kind of place, I connected, and I've just tried to keep connected ever since. So that's the laid back version of my story. I can get the whole dramatic one with tears and everything if you'd like it. I have that one too.
Mm-hmm. I want your show open music or closed music going on.
I guess I could do that. We'll play around here while you're doing whatever. I have the technology.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. So that's the one thing I haven't done yet is get a audio mixer to work on Blab with. I haven't come up with a theme song yet. But for those of you out there who listen to the Bacon podcast, Scott is the voice of the Open of the Bacon podcast.
Brian Basilico.
That's awesome, dude. I love that intro. You did such a great job with that.
You tell everybody have you said the story about how that happened?
No, I haven't. No, this is the first time I
Yeah,
mentioned it. So go ahead.
You had made one. I think you were unhappy with it, and I was sitting there. I saw it on
Yes.
Facebook. You were unhappy with it, and so I took it upon myself to write up and open and produce it for you and send it to you. Just boom.
And it was awesome. I mean, the minute I got it, I went, holy crap, this is what professional sounds like. Because I hired what I thought was a professional, but I mean, it was lame. I mean, it was soft, it was mellow. It didn't have any buzz to it, and I really wanted to kick the show off. I mean, I wanted it to sizzle, baby. That was the whole point. I wanted it to sizzle.
Hey, by the way,
so
just
it did.
Let me show you outside here. Oh, you can't see
Sure.
it. Darn it, that's a palm tree. I was going to show you the palm trees that you're in Chicago.
Oh,
beautiful day.
Yeah, no. I'm jealous, dude. I mean, it was 60 degrees yesterday, which is kind of uncommon for Chicago, but I have to drive to Kankakee tomorrow, which is like about an hour away to speak at a university, and it's going to snow. So I have to deal with that.
Here it's bike week. We don't do that here. Anyway.
Yeah, I understand. Well, that's the beauty of being down in Orlando. Jealous.
I'm glad you. I've heard your show a lot, and I every time I actually have to fast forward past the intro because it's me. It's like, yeah. But you're right. The sizzle is like, one of the things. When I did that, I don't even have an open for my show. If you listen to the Daily Boost, there is no open. It's just me. And I roll it over music.
Right.
But everyone I do for other people, there's, and I don't do that many of them. I do it for probably 5 or 6. Very, very few. It's usually favors more than anything. But I always do that kind of production thing, and I don't know why I've stumbled on it and why I do it. Triple music cues and all that kind of stuff. It all just comes together, But you're right. It gives you the sizzle. And in a world of podcasting where nobody sizzles, where they're all like, hey, bro, well, it's cool to see you. What'd you do this week? It's like, come on, man. We have to start strong.
Well, one of the trends that's happening is a lot of people, because when you do a blab like this, you can record it and it downloads the audio and the video. And there are people that are just using their blab as a podcast. And I mean, the problem with that is that there's a lot of technical glitches. I was listening to one yesterday, and the host was dropping out, and the poor guest, was sitting there, I can't see you, I can't hear you. That's like podcast mud, It's like the worst thing in radio is dead air, right?
It is, and I discovered Blab probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. I looked at it and went, what the hell is this? And I was busy doing what I do. We got like 1 million downloads a month. I was kind of busy on the podcast thing, but I was looking for something to change, because we've seen trending over time. I've seen the audience moving. I've got stats going back to 2005. I know what the numbers are, and so I was looking at it, and then I began to realize people were actually recording and doing it. I said, well, this is cool, because I said I want to do more video online. Having been a video professional in past life like you, I wasn't going to do it till it was easy. Wasn't going to do it because most people, even a podcast is difficult if you do it, 5 days a week. Do a video.
Oh, yeah.
What I really would like to do is my Daily Boost podcast on YouTube 5 days a week. That's what I'd like to do. But to set it up and do it, it's like, man, I just didn't want to go through it. Well, the Blab thing began to make sense to me. And so I said, wow. And then I realized people were actually doing it. They're out there on the cutting edge. But what I was going to get to is the dropouts. It's a real issue. You've got to double record. You've got to record on your end and match it back up. You got to. Yeah, I would never.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the technology it's first and foremost is beta, so it's not 100% solid software, and you just can't rely on the internet. I do record these, and when I'm done, if I have to, I'll edit the intro and outro. Otherwise, I just throw them up on YouTube, and then I link them back to my website, Blab with Bacon.
So you don't take the replay they send you. You actually just record it yourself. No,
I use the replay they send and just throw it up on YouTube, and then take that raw one and put it up.
That's fine. I think when you actually repurpose as a podcast, it's a little bit different. One of the things I've often said, I may talk to you about this, is when you're doing video, it's not the best podcast in the world. It's not. And even if I did this and did it this way, I'd be very careful. And the reason is because audio is people are very sensitive. They're cued in on audio terms. And the very minute you're actually thinking video and interacting with a screen and seeing stuff going on in front of you like this, you get detached from audio. Detached from it.
Right.
If you're in a conversation with somebody else and you can just focus on that, then it's okay. But I see a lot of people try to repurpose it. And what ends up happening is the audience listening on the treadmill to a podcast feels the detachment. They don't feel the connection. And so, in my case, like if I do this, and the theory is that I would actually do my Daily Boost podcast, and I would do it takes me an hour to do them. I thought, well, heck, I'll just go on for an hour and a half and chit chat between them and then slice and dice them until I get what I want. But I tell you, if I did that, I would shut down all the chat. I'd shut down everything. So all I have is me and what I was thinking about. So that's a challenge when you're doing video and trying to repurpose it to audio. It's got to be audio first, I think. That's my belief. So.
Right. No, and I'm with you on that. But see, what you're talking about is more of a Periscope, where people still can like and give you hearts and chat and stuff like that. But it's more of a one-way communication. This is really meant to be more for, bringing people in. There's a hot seat. People can ask questions, and it's really more of an interactive face-to-face. I mean, this is you and me sitting across a table like we did in Orlando when I was down there.
Where's the wine?
And then, somebody's, I wish I had it with me, but it's too early in the morning for that. If I do a Blab at night.
I get that communication. That's cool. And my only point is that if you're going to do this and repurpose as a podcast, you have got to be thinking that's a pure audio form. You got to make sure you're communicating on audio. It's like, the old television thing is, you have the picture on the screen, but you're also using the words so the mom who has her back turned to you in the kitchen can hear what you're saying when she can't see the picture. That's all. So I get it. Yeah, no doubt about that. But they're two different mediums, but I think they mesh perfectly together.
And they do. But one of the things I've always said, because I've been in video production, audio production, I mean, we've both been in studios and radio and all that stuff. And that's one of the reasons why we connected so much is just the tech geek in us, inner tech geek. But in the video world, great audio can make bad video work.
Oh, yeah.
Bad audio will not make any video work. I mean, that's the key. And a lot of times in the video production world, they spend so much time with all the lighting and hair and makeup and all this other stuff. And you really need somebody to pay attention to audio. Otherwise, the end result is not going to be good. So what you're saying is spot on.
That's, it's a combination. We're in a new frontier now again, aren't we?
Right.
Didn't we just have one last year?
Well, yes. Well, this stuff changes so fast. It's like,
I like this. I think this is cool. I'm actually making some shifts in how I market, how I get audience interaction, how I get them to cross into my funnel, all that stuff. I'm making changes, and I think Blab's probably going to be a big part of it.
Right. Well, see, and this could be something like, for example, you could do a Blab with your team, because you've got a team of people that you're working with, and put it up and do live Q&A like this. I mean, it can be done with GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar too, but this is it's a different medium. And then you can invite other people in. They can be the fly on the wall. I just got done with a webinar by Bob Yeager and Lee Collins, and they literally did a webinar that was a fly on the wall of how they make their production, which I thought was very cool. It was a different way, and at the end of it, it wasn't really a pitch, but it was a pitch.
It's got to be.
Okay right, exactly. That, right? But it was. Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, let's face it. If you're not making money in business, you have a great hobby. That's the end result of all of this. Is it has to lead back to something. Because
right now the Blab world is still like a lot of marketers out there, talking about what they're doing.
Yeah, there is. But there's a lot of self-help people out there. There's a lot of coaches.
It's the same thing. Because in podcasting these days is a little bit more commercial acceptable, sponsorships accepted,
right?
The pitch is accepted, but still there's an undertow on podcasting that has never gone away. No ads, don't sponsor, don't do this. It's like everybody has a stopwatch. Like, you went over 43 seconds. Oh no, that's still there. That has never gone away. And I'm just kind of curious why. Oh, hang on a second here. My wife just walked in. She didn't know I was blabbing. Come here, honey. Give me. She brought me something to drink.
She can come in, have her join in. You guys do a show together. Why not?
Come around here. You can say hi, honey. You're going to see her. She just came back from the gym. So here's my beautiful wife, Joy. I'll step in there so we see.
Hey, Joy.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's Joy, and she just brought me a nice, wonderful shake to have here. So you see what okay, take the dog on your walk.
Awesome.
Because you have an 8-month-old Australian Shepherd. He's not good at blabbing. So anyway, so so the question would be is podcasting is, the commercial thing has always been kind of weird. And there's also been lately I've seen the response going down on commercials, the interaction. And so you're obviously commercial here. You're pitching, but not pitching. Is that acceptable in this world or?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a soft sell. I just want people to know, by putting this Blab out, I want them to go to my website. I want them to know I have, the Bacon system, the Bacon coach, the Bacon podcast. I mean, it's just really about spreading the word about all the things that I'm putting out there. It's all intertwined, and it's meant to be a soft sell, but it is, no question about it. I want people to go to that podcast and listen to it. I want people to go to your podcast.
I guess what I'm asking is the tone of the community very accepting of the soft sell?
Generally speaking, most of the people that are on here are doing stuff that's purely informational. Most of the ones that I go to aren't really selling anything. What they're trying to do is basically just create more visibility and create credibility. I think that's really the undertone of what's happening with Blab. So where in the podcast world, like you said, it's a radio show. You expect commercials. You don't want a lot of commercials, but
yeah, it's kind of odd, but I've been had them. I haven't had. I did a commercial-free week last week, and I took advantage of it. Basically, I didn't have any sponsors that week, and I don't really go try to sell them very often. I find them to be a little bit more of a pain than they're worth sometimes because of what you've got to go through to get the deal done. And so if I get a week, so I turn it, being a marketer, I turn it right around. Hey, it's a commercial-free week on the Daily Boost. Boom, turn it right around into a weenie and make it work. And man, I got so many emails. Right. God, I really love your commercial-free week. Now they write me, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, you have to do things differently and mix it up to get the pulse of the audience. Because the only time they're going to react is when something's different. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, they're not going to say anything. And one of the things that I've learned in all media, I don't care whether you're doing Blab, whether you're doing podcasts, you have to have some kind of call to action in it. Even if it's just like at the end of my show, I've got the original narrator kept that piece because it was just it's soft and subtle and it's fine. It's like if you got any questions, go to the Bacon Podcast /questions and we'll answer them for you. So I'm trying to get people to go to the website and get them to follow and see more stuff because there's more on the website than just the podcast. That's the goal.
My website's pretty much just a podcast, so I'm kind of lazy.
Well,
by the way, hey, today's Leap Day. You know that, right?
Yeah, I do. Yes. Where are you going to leap to?
Off because of that, I'm not going to get 1 million downloads this month. I'm a couple
Why
days
is that?
short.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
I need 31 days, man.
But 899,973 is not bad.
It's about 2.
So how did you build up your podcast to the level that it's at? What are some of the tips and techniques you can tell people about? You're generating this.
Number one is consistency. Number one, just be there. We distribute at 3 a.m. every morning. I don't know why. I guess to be there before the East Coast gets up. It kind of makes New Zealand and Australia mad at me, though. They're like, they're way ahead of me.
Well, they're mad all the time, anyways. Aussies. I love them, but they're mad people. Mad Max was filmed, in Australia. The whole purpose of it was
that's right.
No, I'm just kidding, Aussies. Don't send me hate mail and stuff like that. We love you.
Did you watch the Oscars last night?
And New Zealanders.
I did. Well, I watched the opening scene, but it was but Mad Max and the bear thing. Anyway,
I watched pieces of it. Yeah,
the consistency to begin with, just being there. The other thing is, having a professional sound. Really making sure that we, you don't have to go over the top. But listen, this is the world where professionals and corporations and big folks are in podcasting these days. If you're still pretending like you're in GarageBand and get the cheapest little mic you can get, and that's what you're doing, you're not competing with the big boys. You're just not. And the big boys aren't eating your lunch. So from day one, I knew to create a good, solid system. But then it came down to the content, and the content was really not so much about creating a whole bunch of crazy stuff to give it away. It was about giving the tip, the nugget, what I knew my audience wanted, and only what they wanted. I didn't have to go beyond that. And they actually don't want too much because part of what I do is I create this persona where I'm kind of their guru. I show up every day. Hey, let's slug it out today. I'm not here to teach you a whole lot. I'm here to say, let's get it on with the day and see what we can do. And I'm going to give you ideas today. And so I kind of draw them in. Now, I'm not going to go political here, but the mere mention of the name Rush Limbaugh sends people political. Well, my friend Harlan Kilstein laughs at me all the time. He says, you're like the Rush Limbaugh of motivation. And what he means by that is I take a position. I have a voice. When I come on, get out of the way. I'm in charge. Listen, let's go, kids. And I think it's that authority and that expert nature that says, I know what you don't know today. I'm going to teach you, and I get such confidence we're going to do it. And then on top of that, my friend Dave Van Hoos, I don't know if you know Dave or not, an entertainer.
No,
we're into that. So a big layer on top of the podcast is I'm always educating. I build in a special secret language, that people, you have to listen to get to know. I'm educating. I'm always entertaining, because if it's not entertaining, they won't listen long enough. They won't stick around. So that's kind of the core of what I do, and just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And then little by little, it builds over time. But I will tell you on that comment also, my RSS feed has been around since 2005. It's real estate, baby. And if you're considering starting a podcast, I would highly suggest you get that RSS feed in place now, because it's getting more and more difficult every day to get people's attention and to get them to bookmark that feed and to check that feed.
Right.
And to get seen on iTunes or wherever else you want to go it's really difficult to do these days. So I got a little bit of a head start there too. That helped.
No, absolutely. And you're in a very competitive space. I mean, there's tons and tons of people in the self-help, basically it's a self-help space, and there's a lot there. And like you said, there are a lot of big boys. I mean, there's major corporations doing blabs or doing podcasts, and then you got to compete with things like Serial, which is a whole, it's a whole nother world when they started taking that on.
I think one of the things you have to understand is like I know, like iTunes is the 800 or the 900-pound gorilla. Which one is it? It's one of those. It's all podcasting, and until Google has figured that out, and how to create directories, it's all iTunes. It's mostly Apple. And so when you look at that, I've been there a long time with it, so I kind of understand the numbers. Now, I was number one in self-help for 5 years straight. It literally never went off. So I would laugh at it. I'd come in, I was like, would somebody get me off the ceiling? Because I was sitting at number one. Well, as more and more people came in, as more people started gaming Apple, and Apple's got the iTunes portion of it, or the podcast version, very simple search engine. It's like the most basic SEO I've ever seen in my life. And it's easily gameable, and people shift around categories and jump in and out and all that stuff. And it doesn't work long haul because people have to listen to you. But here's what I want to say is, I have my stats going back since 2005. I know the numbers. I know how many numbers you get when you're number one. I know how many you get when you're number 10. Frankly, hang on a second. I have no idea what happens below 10. That's just me. But 10 and above, I know that number. And in self-help, I know that number. And the self-help number is not the business number. And it's not where Serial would be. It's not the NPR stuff. It's certainly not the comedy. It's really different. So the numbers aren't as big as people think in terms of self-help, and they're growing only about 3.5% a year. Not a whole lot. So, when you look at that, it's a competitive space, but there's so many people, and there's just not that many listeners in that area. I'm just checking my feed today. We had, let me get today. Well, let me look at yesterday. So we're averaging about 37,000 downloads per episode right now. That's been growing very slowly. That's in the top 5 of, it's in the top 5 of self-help. The other 4 people are New York Times bestselling authors. And then there's Scott. Maybe I should write a book. So about 37,000 a day, but I can look back in time and I can see those numbers and the very slow growth and exactly how big it is. But it's really, really hard to get those numbers unless you're Adam Carolla. It's impossible. It's not there. They don't exist in the category. Anyway.
So how do you market your podcast so that more people find out about it? I mean, do you do anything other than, I know you got an email list.
Yeah, I got lazy. I've done everything, man. I've done Facebook. I've done, I've run ads. I've done the social media thing like crazy. I think it helps a little bit. But again, what I think happens is this. I think you can promote it, but there's a limited audience out there. And if they're not online, they're not going to find a podcast. Every now and then you find somebody with an iPhone, they can get it really easy, and they'll do that. So it's an all online play completely. Yes, I don't even try to go offline. It used to be my theory that I would go offline and let people know, but unless you're going right for the millennial crowd, it's just not going to happen. So again, back to what I said before, the way you do it is really consistent performance to the market you want to go after, that marketing message match thing. I'll tell you what I see all the time. People, it was a year or two ago when the whole thing about new and notable came out. I'm going to just take a second here and get on my pedestal for a moment. And it's the same with Lee Collins, and I agree on this one. Dude, there's no ranking in new and notable. And it's easy to become new and notable. You just go, and and once you get there, you're going to stay there, what? Maybe 8 weeks at the longest. But what's the big problem with new and notable? It's people get there, a whole bunch of, new and notable is cool because Apple will indeed, because you're up in front, you're getting a lot more traffic to it. Well, if your show sucks, it's not going to stay. So all these tricks of, hey, I launched with 8 shows or something like that, people aren't going to listen to your 8 shows. You'll get big downloads at first because they grab the 8 shows. So back to what I said in the beginning, consistent entertainment, education, having a voice, a persona, a point of view as you do this thing, and then consistently doing it, boom, 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 it just really works. And that's what drives you to the top, because the feed grows slowly. It gets sticky for people. So I think you can reach out and promote. You can do stuff like this to promote, and you pick up a little here or there. But again, I think you got to find the actual podcast that people just got to go listen to, like Tim Ferriss's stuff. He does a nice job.
Yeah, he does a great job. And what you're talking about too is something that happened. We were working together, and originally when I started my podcast, it was called My Marketing Magnet, because I didn't think people would get the bacon thing. It's a bacon thing. For those of you watching, it really is all about, I wrote a book. It's not about you. It's about bacon. And so it had, great staying power, and, it was a great book. It still sells well today. But the problem is that when I did My Marketing Magnet, I got disconnected from that brand, and it started off incredibly slow. Then all of a sudden I changed it to the Bacon Podcast, and it just took off. It went from a couple hundred people downloading a month to thousands downloading a month. Not your thousands, but
I remember we had a conversation. We were on a call on my podcast persuasion call, and we were talking about that. And I think I kind of called you out on it. I said, what?
Oh, you did?
I forgot what I said, but I said, what are you doing?
Yeah, you said shut up and call it the Bacon Podcast, and that was it.
And that's how many times on these calls that we did together, we don't do them anymore, but did we have people spend an hour trying to figure out a name, and just Scott, or do I need a name that's exactly search engine compatible, and should I have my image on the cover? So, listen, I'm the Daily Boost. It says nothing about motivation, and I've never had my picture on the cover. It's a coffee cup.
Right.
That's all. So it doesn't matter.
Well, people get brainwashed with SEO. I mean, there are certain people that are just saying, "Oh, I have to be SEO compliant. I got to be all these other things that people are going to find me." The answer is it's much easier than that. It's just get out there. Just get out and tell people about it, and go on Facebook and say I have a podcast. Go on Twitter and go on LinkedIn and say I've got a podcast. I mean, it's much easier doing it that way than it is trying to play all the search engine games. Yeah. And that's the biggest difference. And there was a great rant by Joel Comm, similar to Lee's, and it was, there is no such thing as an Amazon bestseller. Yeah. Get the heck off of New and Notable.
Yeah, I was talking to Joel the other day about that, and
it was a great rant.
Yeah, and it's a good point, man. And I had seen I did some I was at a thing called Celebrities something. I forgot what it was. Anyway, it's all about getting on TV. And Clint Arthur, he does that program. So I was out at KTLA, and I spent the weekend out there doing this thing. And there were like maybe 15 of us in the room, and they had all these producers coming in on Skype. And you would pitch the producer, and they were someplace in the country. And then the whole goal was to get on a local newscast. Well, I think I have 15 producers. I got 13 offers to be on shows. Didn't do one.
Cool.
But what was really interesting during the concept was everybody was talking about being a #1 Amazon bestseller, and that they're number one on New and Notable. No, you're not. You're just top left. If you're not in this country, it has to be top right to be #1, and it rotates all day long. There's no #1. Well, here's the thing. It was really interesting, and I knew this. Got some a little bit of experience here. But what was interesting was the producers were calling these people out. They were calling them out because they're sitting there. They're sitting there every day trying to get a real story, and they literally say, "God, really? #1 on Amazon at 3 o'clock in the morning, and which subcategory of subcategory of subcategory?" And they called them out on camera.
Right.
There's people who know in the real world. That's why, again, content and making sure you're just out there and giving what your particular audience wants. People the big boys that are doing the billions of dollars of stuff, that's what they do. Have you ever, you've TV production, right? You know what media people are like. They're sharks.
Absolutely.
Sharks.
Right.
And playing the game that a lot of people play, which is, hey, I'm this, I'm that, because somebody told it looks good on the website. I don't have any of that on my stuff. It doesn't matter. What matters is they either like me and what I do, or they don't.
Well, and one of the tricks, like you were talking about, just the fact that, some people would say just because they talk to that producer that works for NBC, they would say as seen as an NBC, or they'd submit an article, that would be shown on their website or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I've seen people also do local interviews and have the, like Orlando local 2, the NBC affiliate, and they just magically strip off all the Orlando stuff and just leave the NBC. It doesn't do you any good.
Right.
Anybody, listen, I'm a savvy media guy. You come to me and throw that up in front of me, I'm going to read between the lines faster than you can even clear it up. I'm going to go right
Right.
to it. And just a matter of whether I want to or not, because I don't have any time. A producer, anybody who really can make you successful is book, 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 book. You're wasting my time. You're out of here. That's it.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. My podcast is an interview podcast where yours is a monologue, and I actually do both. I do one monologue and then I do the interview one. And one of the interesting things that happened is when I started to get more popular, I'm getting these emails from all of these authors, and primarily publicists saying, "Hey, do you want to interview my guy?" And the whole thing about it is I don't interview anybody I haven't either met face to face or get a direct recommendation from, because I need to know, like, and trust these people. I'm putting my audience, in front of somebody that is going to give a good performance, great information, and not just sell their crap, And there's one podcast I got sitting in the can, which came in as a recommendation, and I mean it was as boring as hell, and it was like, I can't put that up on my airwaves. I'm not going to have my audience listen to that, because all it takes is one person to listen to that, and they'll never come back.
Right.
So you really have to get to know your audience. You've got to respect your audience, and you've got to understand the level that they're looking for when you were talking about quality before. Same thing.
That's better.
Lighting. Yeah, better lighting.
Forgot the lighting today. I'm a podcast guy. You know what? I just, since you brought it up, I'm going to do this. I am a 9-minute monologue. I'm a solo show. I have never been anything but a solo show. It's not that I don't want to interview people. I could be an awesome interviewer. I've done a lot of that stuff. But this show, The Daily Boost, is a monologue show. It's people expect it of me. I'm their guru. I'm their mentor, and that's how it is. I probably get anywhere from 5 to 10. It's in that area. Every single day, somebody requesting to be interviewed on my podcast. And what's interesting is, Scott, I love your podcast. I listen all the time. I think I'd make a great guest on your podcast. And I have gone through, and a lot of them are publicists these days, by the way. I have gone through every incarnation of how do I nicely say I don't do it, and I don't even do it anymore. There's a warning on my website, and not a warning, but a notice, and I have an auto flow on my email now, and if it says anything about interviewing, boom, it just sends it out right away. Man, life is easy. I hate that I had to filter it like that, but it could be anywhere from 50, 60, 70 requests a week. You don't do it. I appreciate the comment, but at least here's the deal. If you want to really serve your audience, if you really want to, Brian, if the need were right, do you think that maybe I could have a special guest, or maybe I might do a special show or find another place to do it? But do you think I'm going to do it if you just ignore what I'm all about? That's
right. That's exactly
job hunting 101. Pay attention to the company, right?
Well, that's it. And because you have a podcast, you have a platform, people want to jump on the platform and sell their crap. And that's not what the podcast is about. The podcast is about informing education. At least mine is. Mine is, getting great guests. I mean, and by staying integral to that, I'm able to get better guests. I mean, I've had Armin Morin on, Joel Comm, some really, really great internet marketing people who drop really incredible knowledge bombs. And I'm like you, man, it's a 10-minute show. I keep it short. The expert interviews, I actually do longer, extended ones. And then for people that want to get it, I mean, I have transcriptions of those as well. So if you want your transcription, just let me know. I'll send it to you. Oh, cool. When you were on mine. So those are, I'm trying to provide as much great training content as possible and curate that content. You know what I mean?
That's what you're doing. And then you just, people find you, it repurposes, it works. And people just really have to know what you're all about. They just have to know. And the doors swing open. It's like people all the time will tell me, we get a lot of email, a lot of phone calls, and they'll say, you're the hardest guy in the world to get a hold of. Brian, can I ask you a question? Do you have a hard time getting a hold of me?
Yep.
No.
Not at all.
Usually in second.
Because we got a relationship, man. That's the biggest thing. It's like, we've met face to face. We've done conferences together. We know each other. I was in your class, got to know you very, very well on multi levels. And that's a relationship. That's why it works. That's where I think that if you did have a relationship with somebody and it meant something to your audience, I could see you you brought Joy in once a week, right? Are you still doing that show?
I kind of canceled that show. Weird changes in the past year in the podcast world. We had this show called, it started out being husband, wife, talking life. And that worked pretty well. And then we changed it to husband, wife, healthy life, which fit a little bit better. And, but man, people love the show. It was our most popular show. People downloaded that show. They listened to it every now and then. They send us comments about it. no action from it. They love the show so much.
Mhm.
I mean, basically, thank you for giving us treadmill, listening. And
Right.
I did, I don't know, 50 episodes of that show. And one day I said, I'm done. I'm done. I'm running a business. I can't just keep giving away free stuff. And so I
Right.
yanked it, and I made a decision to something I'd never done before. And this violates, I think, podcasting 101 probably. I'm not the most transparent guy in my podcast because I run a business. I don't think I need to be. I think I need to put a product out there that you love, and then either you love it or you don't. I'm rewarded one way or I'm not, right? So I don't worry about it too much. But back in the beginning, if I canceled a show, I'd go on for 3 months about it. Okay, I'm considering doing this, considering doing that, like a lot of guys do now. In this case, I just stopped the show. I got one email about 4 weeks later. Hey, I'm looking for the show. Where'd it go? I really miss it. Oh, sorry, it's gone. And I think that's the thing that I have learned about podcasting, and it's like marketing in general, like particularly direct marketing, is, your audience is looking for a certain thing, period. And that's all they care about. They could care less about the drama in between it. It didn't matter. So when it just wasn't working right, I just yanked it, gone. And guess what? I freed my week up. I didn't have to do another podcast. I used to do 16 podcasts a week, man. 16.
I know. I remember.
16.
You had the motivation move, or no? What was the business one that you did?
Fitness Boost, the Business Boost, and I did the
Business
the
Boost
Insider Show for my members, and I did that 4 years, 16 shows a week.
That's a lot of talking.
Well, that's how I got the 8,000 podcast, and you could never get me back to that again. Never. It's not wildest dreams. But there's something in the podcast world now. I don't know. Something's different.
Yeah.
I saw it coming a year or so ago, and I'm feeling it more and more. I'm actually feeling it since Blab came in. I'm feeling changes. And, I don't know. There's a lot of free, I like to joke that the only thing Apple has never charged for is a podcast. Ever. They charge for everything else. And they hardly pay any attention to podcasts. They never have. They just put this new portal up now for you to, update your feed like you did the other day. Like, woohoo, look.
Exactly.
It's like somebody spent the morning on something. That was about it,
Right.
It was crazy. But back in the day when we started podcasting, you used to have a thing on the side that said free. It actually said free. Now it says get it or get, I guess.
Right.
You said free. No, we're just a big traffic source for the iTunes music store. It's all we are. And over time, I'm just wondering, I'll get your opinion on this, because we've had sponsors, we have a direct response, we have promotions, all kinds of stuff. I am just wondering if there's been too much free and there's too many people out there, and people are overburdened and they're conditioned to not to hear the call to action.
Right.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I have a group coaching program that's called, of course, Bacon Gold Group Coaching. Every week I do training in there, and one of the towards the end of every single week, I say, what is the free economy stopping you from doing? Because when you're doing any kind of marketing, email marketing, everybody wants something free. Podcasting, everybody wants something free. Download my free report. Everybody's going around searching the internet looking for free stuff. When, if they really looked at it, and my perfect example of this is you got a dog, I got a dog, it's a pooper scooper. Okay, I can go out in the backyard and pick up dog poop. It's not a big deal. Take me about a half hour walking around looking, getting set, taking it, throwing it out, and all this other stuff. It costs me $12 a week for somebody else to do it. Now, why would I go in my backyard and spend a half hour to save $12 when I could be sitting in here generating income?
I just let my dog poop in the neighbor's yard. It's cooler. It's easier.
Well, yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Your neighbors don't love you. But see, that's the kind of free stuff mentality that people have, is like they're so busy trying to save a buck that they're not realizing that they're actually wasting their time. The time it takes to go find this stuff. And yeah, you can find some free, great content, but it may take you 5 or 6 tries or an hour or 2 hours and all this research to find that stuff. Where when somebody knows, likes, and trusts your show, they're going to come back all the time because you provide great content. And when you do a pitch, I said doo-doo, which works for the dogs. When you do that, you already have that know, like, and trust capability, and they're going to check it out. They're at least going to give you attention. And that's the whole point, is building that credibility is so incredibly important.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, man, people are, they're wanting more and more. And I think the whole free thing is running its course. I think it's too much there. And
Mhm.
you can see it now. I mean, even like we cut the cable, we got Netflix and Hulu, and I paid extra $4 a month for no commercials. I'll pay it. So it's like the
Mhm.
free things are running its course, and content is getting locked up behind the wall again, and people are beginning to pay for it. A la carte is coming, and I've seen it. It's like we've gotten real popular on the Daily Boost lately. It's been kind of crazy, and I'm still pushing. I'm kind of building a platform for the book I will write eventually.
Mhm.
And with all the downloads, like publishers are talking to me all the time. I just have to write the darn thing. Um, but with everything that is going on out there, the way it's working, I look at it and I go, man, how can we control this? How can we get these people to jump through the hoop a little bit more? When's it going to shut down? When's it going to shut down? Because they're
Right.
just not reacting like they used to. Now, I will tell you that I can tell I'm getting popular because more and more, because I get these nice emails, and it's so interesting. It's such a different audience, and this is very, very unique to the podcast audience. It'll start out as a great compliment, and somewhere down in the middle of it, there's going to be a correction. It's like the criticism cookie. Somebody's, and then
Right.
right after that,
Mhm.
there's going to be a suggestion about the other free things I should be including in the podcast to really make it valuable for them. And I'm
Right.
getting a lot of these lately, like a couple a week now, these really well formulated letters. And I'm like, okay, where's that coming from? I don't know. Where's it coming from,
It's
Brian? Are you sending
free
them again?
economy. No, it's the free economy, man. People are looking for everything for free, but the difference. I mean, there's certain things you can get and certain things you can't. Just on the book thing, I just finished book number 4 yesterday. I don't know if you saw that on Facebook.
Well, you haven't done 8,000 podcasts either. I'm busy.
No, I have not done 8,000 podcasts. I've done what am I up to? 140 roughly, so about 140 podcasts. So that's not nowhere near where you're at. But the way I did the book is I took all the training that I'm doing in this gold group, okay, which is 12
Mhm.
modules, and I basically wrote that book based on those 12 modules. So I created the content for the training and then actually wrote the book by going in and basically
Yeah.
recording it. I mean, I talked through the modules, did a little research, and bada bing, bada boom. Within a month, I had it's like 3,700
Oh,
or 37,500 words, probably about 140, 150
neat.
pages, and hand it off to the editor, hand it off to the proofer, and get it done. So it's writing a book is just like doing a
Yeah.
podcast. It's just you have to have the sequence of what you want to put out there. You have to have a purpose with it, obviously. You have to know your audience. And once you know your audience and what they're looking for, you can actually create it pretty easy. It's
Mhm.
just a matter of I'm going to do 10 chapters, 12 chapters. Here's all the steps. It's not
Yeah,
that
yeah,
tough.
it's not.
You just got
I'll
to.
tell you, I've been going at it for a long time. I've written about 140,000 words now. I just need to
Oh,
edit.
yeah.
But what happened was when my wife passed away, I had this idea. Again, I fundamentally transformed, and I like to go really deep in my storytelling, but my branding is not that way. It's much more daily motivation, little nuggets of information, and so I can live in these two
Hmm.
worlds where I'm like pop it out really fast and easy, and then I want to go dramatic and do some storytelling. And then about 3 years after my wife died, I realized, wait a second, my head's not clear yet. If I write a book,
Hmm.
it's going to be this tearjerker. And 5 or 6 years after it, I went, okay, I'm starting to get clear. It took that long, but here's the real truth. I've never felt the need to. I never felt the need to
Hmm.
write one. It wasn't anything that I had to do. I've had success without it. Um, but lately, as my head is cleared, and 9 years later, it's about damn time. But more importantly, it became important to me. And here's why it became important to me. I was going through my files. I was going through all my prep. I was going through
Hmm.
my 8,000 podcasts, looking at the list of them. Going, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff. And it dawned on me that it sure is a shame that there's so much great information and thoughts buried in a place where nobody will ever get it. They can't
Hmm.
access the information.
No, it's very true.
And when that
Right.
happened, suddenly I said, got to write the book. And so I've been making changes. And actually, tomorrow, well, I started writing this morning already, but tomorrow was the day that I actually officially begin it to go after that. And we're going to keep solid with the brand because I train a lot. I do what you do. I teach and do stuff like that, but I don't consider
Hmm.
myself a trainer. I never have. Um, I'm
Hmm.
more interested in the moment, more interested in the education or in the entertainment value of it. I'm more interested in just embracing life. I don't need to stand and lecture. I don't have to speak. I just kind of I'm more interested in just living life the way I feel like I want to live it that day. And so in this world where everybody's writing a book for a business card, writing a book to say, hey, let me write this so you understand what my business is all about. I've just never been interested in that. So to me, I think a little bit differently.
Right.
I don't right or wrong. I don't know. But
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do and what your end game is. And, I mean, the whole reason that I jumped on your podcast Persuasion is because you walked into a conference and you stepped on stage and you did a production. You didn't do a presentation, you did a production. It was like going to Disney and watching one of their shows. And, the fact that you did something like that immediately built a certain credibility. Like, this guy, knows his stuff, knows what he's doing. This is somebody I want to learn from. And that was before I had my podcast. And I said, if I'm going to learn how to podcast, I want to learn from this guy. I know I could go to John Lee Dumas, who's very, very good and has a great formula, but it's a different formula, And then and if you go online right now, there are probably 10,472 podcast courses that you could get. But the key thing is you could spend your time spinning your wheels there, or you can go to somebody like you who really knows what they're doing and has a unique twist on this with a long-term vision, as opposed to let's make money with a podcast. That's what people are saying. You can get rich with a podcast. No, you can't.
Not unless you sell.
No, you can't.
A course on how.
No.
Listen, I love John Lee Dumas. I mean, I love him. Yeah. I don't know if I love him or not. Like him. Got a hell of a lot of respect for him. He's a product salesman. He's a marketer. Right. He sells widgets. If the clients that I have, my coaching clients, if they would actually do what he did, which is what we do, go to conferences, buy the best coaching you can possibly get, work 24, 36 hours straight, boom, 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 on a mission, you can do what he did. A lot of respect for him, but it's not for everybody. And he's tapped out the market pretty much too. I mean, he talk about hitting it just at the right time. Holy moly, just rolled right in and just got that whole, just the podcast training market. Cliff Ravenscraft has been out there forever, and John Lee just ran right over it. So anyway, I never wanted to play that game a whole lot. People come to me, and I still have clients who come to me and they want to learn how to do it, and we just do it individually, do it like that, because I never wanted to really make that my profession. My whole thing is how to inspire you. How do I get you to explore the possibility? That's why I dropped all the podcasts that I was doing, and back to kind of the book thing. But the reason I dropped everything was because my brand was a little bit too broad. And I had to, and I said, listen, I got this great personal development platform that I stumbled into, and I seem to do pretty well with it. And I actually really enjoy doing it. It's a highlight of my week when I can sit down and actually spend time recording my podcast and not just have to get it done. I sit down and spend 4 or 5 hours working on my podcast. I just love doing it. And I finally just said, you know what? I'm going to drop everything else. I'm going to revamp everything. And I'm going to do what you said. I'm going to produce myself. I'm going to create a production, and I'm going to narrow that brand. And so this year, what we're doing is actually moving through that brand, changing up my marketing, how I get my funnel done. I'm going much more into speaking, but I've decided to go after more keynote speaking and less of the kind of pitching from the stage speaking, which is what I was doing before. So, and I put a number on it. So I went $25K per presentation. It's out there, and I decided that's where I'm heading. So to get there, you kind of have to have that, that golden ticket called a book.
You do.
Yeah. So
if you want to play in that arena, you have to.
Yeah.
Have
So
a
what
book.
was happening?
I mean,
was that I had, when you're marketing, and like a lot of people see the guy that wrote Ready, Fire, Aim years ago, Michael Masterson. That's his pen name, but here's how you build a big company. You get in your lane, you focus, you're on one thing, and you sell until you make $1 million. And then once you sell to get $1 million, then you go, okay, let me add another product to it. Your goal is pure and simple in the beginning, real simple. Find something people want to buy from you and sell it to them, and then go find more people that want to buy the same thing. And what happened to me was, and what happens to a lot of the folks online anyway, is they get very broad. They get because they feel like, well, I have to have multiple residual streams of income to make it work. And in the meantime, you're out this wide. Hang on, let's get on camera. You're out this wide, and you can never get there fast. And so after so many years of doing it, just know what I like to do. I know what I'm really effective at. And I just got tired of chasing all the rabbits or the squirrels,
Right. And that's one of those things that they say, mild wide, inch deep, or mile deep, inch wide. And that's really super important.
Talk about my weight like that.
And you brought up a really, really good point, and that was I think you've got to figure out exactly who your brand is, and I can tell you it takes a while to figure it out. It's not like And one of the things that I've learned over the years for me is what I'm really super great at doing. My superpower is teaching. I love to teach. I love to instruct. So what I've had to do is build the brand around my passion. And then once I learned that and figured it out, then everything I do has a main focus of the ability to teach people how to stop being stupid on the internet. I mean, I run into people all the time. Well, and because what happens is it's this
Hey, let me
squirrel
enjoy that
effect.
for a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Stop being stupid on the internet. Good luck. But if you're gonna be stupid, give me your
Well,
credit card.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I mean, people fall prey. We talked about before. It's keywords or traffic or all the things that they'd say. If I just get more traffic to my website, I got a customer I'm working with right now that tried AdWords and it didn't work for him. So what did he do? He went and hired another AdWords company, and it's like, and he's probably going to pay more. And unfortunately, the result is going to be the same. He's going to keep paying for traffic, and he's not going to get it because what's broken is the core. It's like you can't do sit-ups if you got a broken back. And so that's essentially what I'm trying to do is get people, and I'm so passionate about it. I mean, hopefully you can feel it, man. It's coming through the screen, But it's like get people to take control of their own marketing and do it in a way that other people have gotten success from it without spending a ton of money or falling prey to, I'm going to make you number one on Google traps that are out there, because that stuff is junk. It doesn't work. I don't care how you slice and dice.
Yeah, and you had this passion ever since I met you. Our conversation we had down here was the same thing. All after it,
right.
and to your point, now, I teach, but I never consider myself a teacher. I will never call myself a podcaster, ever, because to me that's not what I do. I am connecting with my people using a podcast and other things. So I'm not a podcaster. And I've said this for years, and usually because they're amateurs. I don't want to be an amateur. But ultimately, like you said, finding your brand, finding what you're good at, spending the 10,000 hours in the seat working at it. I'll be honest, be very frank with you. I got this. I'm a storyteller. I used to make films. I made all kinds of television shows. I'm the guy that I was director and producer. I'd get out there and I loved it, nothing more than to really take you on a journey. I love that stuff. But at the end of the day, I was a shock jock. I was a DJ in a t-shirt, man. I just wanted to go in as late as possible, have as much fun as I could without getting fired, and maybe get a free pizza at the end of the night. That's kind of how I was raised. And, I didn't work an 8-hour day until I was 27 years old. I was a DJ 6 days a week, 4 hours a day. And, then you go out and people love you because of that. And it wasn't enough for me. I needed more. But at the end of the day, I figured out that to me, there's nothing more powerful than just being able to do what I think do best, which is use my personality. I'm really good at narrowing things down very quickly and prioritizing for people. Very quick. I can be extremely funny. You've seen that. I'm very, very quick. I'm really in a live room. Good luck keeping up with me because I've had too much training doing this. And then, as you know, with my production that I do, I kind of intersperse the production into the ad lib stuff. And what's happened is over time, I've done a 9-minute program where I basically have ad lib 9 minutes off a couple of notes we're in our 10th year now. At some point, as much as I want to be the serious guy in the world and be the instructor that Brian Basilico is, at some point you just got to say, I just want to go on stage, get paid a lot of money, and go in my motorhome and play.
Right.
And that's kind of this past year. And you're seeing me not go on Facebook. You're seeing me not play the games anymore. I'm like, listen, here's what I do. You like it or you don't. I'm busy otherwise. And it's just staying in my lane. Focus on one thing, stay in my lane, and get it done. I've evolved to that.
Exactly.
Yeah. People, I think this year are kind of looking at me. A lot of my marketing friends are going, where you been? I said, I don't want to go to any more conferences. Are you kidding? The only reason you want me there is to buy your product. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
You want me to buy your $25,000 mastermind? I'm qualified to buy it. I said, yeah, I am, but no, why don't you buy mine? In fact, why don't you $5,000? We'll go spend a week together someplace and have fun.
Right. And I'll teach you something.
But it's okay.
Right.
Listen,
this
is fantastic. I love that this works because it is the process. When you're in personal development, what we understand is this, that you are at a time in your life, you've got a challenge going on, and you need to have that challenge fixed. And if you just keep working at it on your own without my help at all, you're going to figure it out because that's life. You'll learn it. But people just kind of pass through. And I just figure that out. It's like, okay, well, they're passing through. I can help them with what I can help them. And life is not any more serious than that. Just helping folks out and moving on.
Right.
It's fishing. It's fly fishing on the stream, waiting for the next one to come up. You know, who
They're hungry fish out there.
Who
You
needs
just
help?
gotta sit there and wait for the
this
right
is
one.
hard. Being solidly in the personal development thing, and we have this thing called click coaching right now. And the click, I always say the trick is the click. It's that millisecond in time where dreams become reality. It's that millisecond in time where you get it. And it's that day you said, I'm going on a diet, boom. And then the other day is when you actually stick to it, right? It's that time. It's a time when you're working on something on the internet and suddenly you go, wow, I got it. I know what to do. Or your brand, you figure out where your path is. And so we do that all the time. And I can tell you, it's a real popular coaching group. And the reason it's popular is because everybody arrives at the table going, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Everybody.
Sure.
And I've gotten pretty good at helping them. You know, I was going to, anyway, we've got some other stuff we do with that as well, but that's where everybody is. And I always tell them, and they're usually type A personalities, by the way. I say, slow down, trust the process. And I understand that life is going to teach you the lesson. It's like internet marketing. I don't know anybody who gets into internet marketing who makes money in their before a year and a half or 2 years. Nobody. And not real money for 3 or 4 years or 5 years, right?
Right.
Trust the process. I'm off track now. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You're spot on track. Because we were talking about, finding your passion, going down the road, understanding who your audience is. All those things are incredibly important. If we're going to do podcasting, I call it, marketing with a purpose. Everything has to have a purpose. And what a lot of people do is this spaghetti on the wall thing, man. They just keep throwing things up there, and internet marketing is like that. Squirrel, if that didn't sell, build another product. It's like try sell. You go to the same audience, you say, okay, well, you didn't like this one. How about that one?
Oh, and like I said, even the personal development thing, we all know this. It's like, okay, he bought his product, or then he was at Tony, and then here it comes. Okay, Scott, I'm going to come to you for a while. Great, I'll take your money. Oh, Brendan, your turn, Brendan. Right. Go get him. And that's what people do. Right. And that's why, when I talk about going to conferences, I go to conferences these days, and I usually end up spending way too much money, but I have to go in the door deciding not to spend any money because I know they're marketers. Marketers are supposed to sell you the next thing. I can't tell you how many times I bought the same product. Here comes Ryan Dice with another $7 product, a tripwire. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'll go ahead and buy that one. Damn it, I already got it. He's got me back in his membership site again.
Yep.
It's true.
It's true. It's really true.
So, it's always gonna happen. And ultimately, I think it's all on message. And typically, what you want to do with your life and what you want to do with your job and how you want to spend your day is, I think most people already know what that feels like, and they try to reach out beyond it. My goal is real simple. I wish I had a bigger highfalutin goal, but I don't. It's get out of bed in the morning, go, well, nice day, let's go. And not drag myself out of bed, but get up and go and be excited, interact, do stuff all day long, whatever makes me happy. And when I go to bed that night, I'm like, that's a pretty good day. That's it. That's
a good goal
as it gets. Now, throughout the course of the day, there's big stuff I want to do. There's exciting things. There's technical stuff I want to get into that I like. But I just want to be at a place where I enjoy myself. And I think more people would do that, if they would just let it go, turn off the noise. Your heart's telling you what to do already. It is. When you found bacon, man, you were done. That was it. Bacon.
Yep.
You were cooked.
It's bacon. I was cooked, and it's been sizzling ever since. And so this has been great, man. We're kind of getting towards the end of the show. We're almost at the top of the hour. And after this, I have to actually go make money and go to a client, which is, one of the things you have to do. So, but if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can reach out direct. Just Scott@motivationtomove.com. Contact me there. You can go to the website if you'd like to. Check it out. I'll podcast over there. A few things. We're making some changes to some of the, we've got our lead magnets over there as well. Some good programming. I think there's 3 or 4 hours over there right now. So you might as well go there and download some stuff as well. Get on your list. Get on my list so I can sell you stuff. That's awesome. But you know what? I like people to connect, and you'll never find me not doing that. If you're cool, just be cool. If you're cool, you'll never find me not connecting with you. If I can help, I can help. Usually it's enjoyable for me, and send me a note. Let's chat. That'd be great.
Sounds awesome, dude. Well, this has been great. It's been great connecting up. I thought you brought up some awesome points.
I hope so. I've
talked with a handful of coaches. It's almost like the show has been a lot of coaching, which is fine, because that's one of my philosophies is every doctor needs a doctor, every mentor needs a mentor, every coach needs a coach. And if you're going to coach other people, you can learn from other people who really do it well. And it's really a matter of, but that mindset philosophy, I think, is one of the most important things. We could talk podcasting all day and get into the technical, but that's not what I think people want to hear. They want to hear, okay, what's the mindset behind doing it properly? And I thought you delivered, man. You over-delivered. You put some sizzling bacon on the show, baby.
Man. Well, listen, and you controlled me well, because having done a monologue show for nearly 10 years, I tend to go. Every answer is exactly 9 minutes with no interruption.
That's awesome. So no, it was great, man. It was great having you on the show. Hope you stop back again. I'll get you a link to the replay later. So if you want to share this with your peeps, it's all good. You got some great stuff in here, man. So I appreciate it. So you have a great day, dude.
Appreciate it. And bye.
All right.
Hello.
You too. Bye-bye.